Greetings Admiral and welcome to X4 Foundations. During the last few episodes we've been concentrating on missions. This has allowed a lot of building to go on in the background. We're now going to review our industry. So here we are hanging out in 18 billion. This station is our gas refinery. We harvest the three gases, hydrogen, helium and methane. We process these into antimatter, superfluids and graphene. The superfluids and graphene are then processed into plasma conduits and quantum tubes, giving four outputs to this station: antimatter, plasma conductors, quantum tubes and graphene. These are then used by other factories. Allow me to visualize that for you. All my factories supply their own energy cells, so we'll ignore that from the equation. So it's fairly simple. The gas refinery takes in three raw materials, hydrogen, helium and methane, and produces four outputs: antimatter, plasma conductors, quantum tubes and graphene. As you can see from this visualization, you can see graphene is going to be very important. Not only is it an output, but it's used for plasma conductors and quantum tubes. So we know we need to build extra graphene factories. My ore processor in Grand Exchange 4 takes in the raw materials of silicon and ore, has one intermediate product which is silicon wafers, and produces refined metals, microchips, smart chips and scanning arrays. Well, it will produce scanning arrays when I remember to build the factory. I only realised I hadn't built the scanning array once my tech factory had come online and scanning arrays weren't being delivered. The hull parts factory takes in antimatter cells, refined metals, graphene, and produces engine parts, hull parts, and advanced composites. The Claytronics factory takes in microchips, quantum tubes, and antimatter cells, and produces advanced electronics and claytronics. The Tech Station takes in advanced composites, microchips, quantum tubes, scanning arrays, plasma conductors, engine parts, hull parts, and produces antimatter converters, turret components, field coils, shield components, drone components, and weapon components. Hopefully from this quick overview you realise this is a tangled web of interdependency. We've now moved over to Grand Exchange and we're in the Geometric Owl. We're going to do a quick flyby of all the stations I have in this sector, because I can, and you're a captive audience. The first station we come to is our newest. It is the Tech Station. This station has the most inputs and the most outputs. The other four factories are there mainly just to be able to produce more factory. This factory will eventually allow us to produce spaceships. The next station we come to is the Hull Parts factory. Up until now the main output for this station has been hull parts and advanced composites, so we could build more factories. So we could increase our output to build more factories. It is one of the reasons why I don't have much cash on hand, because most of my factories have been building themselves and not actually making me a great deal of passive income. This station is the Food and Medical Supplies factory. I've not actually mentioned this factory yet, but this supplies the food for my workers. Food and medicine is supplied to all my major factories to improve efficiency, and we'll look at this efficiency bonus later on. The next station is the ore processing plant, which just happens to be my least favourite of all my stations because I don't like the way I designed it, and I have nobody to blame for that but me. The orientation of the station just vexes me as well. And that leaves the final station, the Claytronics factory. The orientation of this station is wrong in my head, but the design is far more efficient, so I don't hate this station. The 6 stations that I've showed you are designed specifically for producing parts to build spaceships. Any passive income these stations do make is just from selling off excess energy cells. The other stations that I have built around on the highway are there for passive income, which they've done a great job. If you watch my other episodes, you'll see the regular income they have produced. So far I've given you an overview of how the stations work. I've shown you what the stations actually look like. So it's now time to poke around at their innards and see how they're actually working at the moment. In your HQ station, you get a personal office, and I've never actually used it. So I decided now would be as good a time as any And here we are. As we sat down and comfortable, we're going to take a quick look at all of the stations that I own, but mainly concentrating on the big 6. This is my chip factory in Second Contact 2. It's my only factory that doesn't have an attached solar power plant to it. The power cells come from the Reach. Instantly you can see that I do not have enough silicon in stock. The station is set up to sell excess silicon wafers, which is obviously not happening at the moment. So I'll put it on the to-do list, buy another miner. I do actually have a physical list, I have a pen and paper next to me. The station has its own trader selling off its goods, but also NPC traders can come and buy the stock as well. As you can see previously, this station did have at least 4 silicon miners, and I'm now down to 2. I believe I lost the miners due to a choice in one of the storyline missions. This whole station is a storyline mission. It produces energy cells but buys in graphene and refined metals. It then converts these to hull parts. This station is in Argon Prime, right next to the shipyard, which has almost a constant need for hull parts, which is nice. And now we come to the first of the big 6, the Claytronics factory. The first thing we notice is we've got a shortage of microchips, which means that when we get to the ore processing factory, we need to check that there's no bottleneck in microchip production. If there's no bottleneck, it might be transportation issues, which means we can just buy some more freighters or transporters. As you can see, we have barely any advanced electronics or Claytronics in stock at the moment. The Claytronics are basically out of stock because we just started building a new factory. Once the initial build project for the tech factory is finished, we will then concentrate on upgrading and ramping up production in the suppliers. The present build queue for this station is quite small, but important. We're increasing the docking capacity by building a luxury dock. We're building a second large habitat and a large container storage module. I won't be adding to the build queue because we have a large build project going on at the moment, and I'd rather get that completed quicker. Next up, we have the food factory. At present, we don't seem to have a lot of ice in storage, but we have maxed out our storage capacity of water. We are presently overproducing on energy cells, so we're going to tweak it so we sell off some excess. But there won't be a great market because we're already selling off energy cells to the local area. So this factory is producing 27,000 energy cells an hour. So we're going to keep about an hour's worth of energy cells in reserve and sell off anything beyond that. Once we start upgrading the station, we'll need to come back and check on these numbers. We set the energy cell price to 12 credits a unit and then change the trade rule to selling to everybody. As you can see, this factory is producing plenty of food rations and medical supplies. There is presently nothing in the build queue for this station either. Next up will be the gas refinery in 18 billion. We're presently looking at the ships that are assigned to that station. It has 4 gas miners, a freighter, 1 transporter dedicated to acquiring build materials, and 6 transporters to distribute end products and buy food. As you can see from the logical overview, it has plenty of resources in storage. As I mentioned earlier, graphene is not only an intermediary product, it is an end product as well, so we will need to increase the number of graphene factories. As you can see, the freighter assigned to this factory is coming in to acquire some of the graphene to take to another station. And here is the build for the station. We presently have quite a long build queue, which has been unfortunately held up by a lack of Claytronics at the moment. This is a fairly densely built station and has recently expanded to include a second level of factories. But as I've already mentioned, I'm going to increase the graphene output for this station. One of the important components of this station is the amount of storage it has, which at present is 5 large storage containers and 2 large liquids. Looking at the workforce at the moment, I presently have 2,800 workers, which is giving me a bonus 20% to my production. Presently I can house up to 7,000 workers, and at the present size of this factory I need 13,000 workers. But that number is going to increase as the build order progresses. And now we get to our newest station, what I've been calling the tech station. This is so brand new I don't even have a manager for it yet, so that's the first thing we're going to do, assign a manager. We're going to check our personnel portfolio and find the best person for the job. So generally it'd be somebody working service crew that we can change their role to become a manager. Well, the most highly skilled person we got in managerial that's not in a captain or manager position is presently unassigned. So it looks like Terrell is getting a job and a promotion on the same day. With Terrell now the manager of the tech station, we can now assign its subordinates, which will be freighters and transport ships, meaning we won't need to rely on other stations to transport their goods here, and Terrell will be able to prioritise low stock goods. For consistency's sake, we're going to look at the overview, but there's not a great deal to learn here because this is such a new station. I did spot we had some supplies being delivered already. These deliveries will soon pick up once we've bought some ships for this station. I've got to the editing process and realised I didn't record any footage for the build process. I'll have to get back to that at a later date. We're now looking at the hull parts factory. You can see that there's nothing in the build queue, but you can see that I've already built some habitation units, so that's going to increase the productivity and output of this station for a while. The graphene problem we're aware of, but when we get to the ore processor we'll have to check up on refined metals and find out where the bottleneck is. Moving on to the solar power plant in Mercury. I will admit this station was built and then almost forgotten about. It was built with a vague notion that I would actually have a specific production line for Terran capital ships. We'll classify this as a work in progress and come back to it at a later date. Moving on to the ore processing facility. Just from the initial overview we can see we're short on silicon and ore raw materials, but we knew that I'd recently taken 2 missions to supply us with some miners. The factory does have a good quantity of refined metals in storage, so it could just be a transportation problem. We'll mark that down on the to-do list. All the other stations on the list are pretty old and are working just fine. There's no point in looking at them. The last on the list is a defence station we're building for the reward of a miner. It just needs some shield components and some turret components, so it's nearly completed. As I produce these items it makes it easy to complete as well. Talking of completeness, I've added 3 scanning arrays to my ore processing facility. Obviously I'm going to need to add a lot more of these, but once I expand the footprint for the ore processing factory, I'll add these to the second row. I'll only need to expand the scanning arrays just before I start producing ships. Well, that's where my industry is at the moment, and now we're going to expand it a lot. And for that to happen, we need to get time to pass. So I'm going to run a few missions in the background and have a little bit of fun. So one item of fun on the docket is the Sin Destroyer. I got this at the end of the Terran arc. Although I do like the look of this ship, I don't think it's as capable as the Odysseus Vanguard, which I can throw up against capital Xenon ships. But let's see how the Sin will work against the Clark. I'm in Grand Exchange 4 where I have a complete infestation for all my miners working. I'm now in the manager's office of the HQ. He has a nice view of the landing pad to see what's going on out there. A lot has gone on out there. 3 days have passed. So I estimate I've played for 8 hours plus or minus. During that time I've run these mini arcs of getting the den and the casino. And I have run numerous missions to earn myself some cash. I now have 240 million plus credits in the bank. So I believe it's time to splash some cash. First thing I'll do is recall the geometric owl. Oh, that. Oh, I've moved the HQ as well. I did say I'd been busy. But the movement is for future plans, not present plans. We'll get round to that in a future episode, but for now, let's get back to what I'm supposed to be doing. It's time to use the geometric owl as our taxi service and visit all the factions. Make some purchases. You rejoined me in Argon Prime, and we're about to talk to the Argon Federation faction representative. We're going to splash cash on ships, the small and medium variety, and also make sure that we have all the weapons and equipment for the ships. It does look at some point earlier on in the playthrough I came by and bought a lot of the equipment because I probably had a lot of cash on hand. I can't actually remember doing that, but this series has been going on for quite some time now. But we do need to pick up those items that we have forgotten or didn't have the cash for. Obviously I'd picked up the turrets because I needed them for the defence station building missions. And that will be the same for the shields as well. Randomly picking an XL shield generator there. Oops. Well, eventually it won't go to waste when I get around to building the big ships. Looks like I'd already purchased all the ship equipment available. Odd, I'd already bought all the small and medium ships for Argon as well. I also don't remember doing that either. So I'm splashing 33 million credits in cash there, but that will eventually allow me to build and equip all Argon Federation medium and small class ships. And now we're going to talk to our Paranid friends in the God Realm.
It's an honor to see you here.
We're going to spend 66 million credits for the Paranid ships, so we can move on to the Taladi now.
It's an honor to see you here.
At the Taladi, we're going to spend 64 million credits.
Greetings.
So we're still missing half the factions. We don't have Split, Boron or Terran. We'll get round to those. And now it's time for the grand finale of this episode. I've just checked the save file and we've been playing this for 5 whole days. Which, when you put it like that, does sound like I have a problem. But let's jump into the station planner once again. The culmination of all the work I've done so far. I am building a small medium fabrication bay and a small medium maintenance bay. This is what's going to allow me to build ships. I'm also building some storage, container storage for components and some solid storage for future use. So in my future episodes I will need to balance the industry even more. The final component factory is woefully under factoried at the moment. I also need to introduce myself to the Split to get access to their ships and modules. That will also allow me to upgrade the Thunderchild's engine so I can go a little bit faster. I will also need to improve my standing with the Boron to get access to their military grade equipment. But that will also be in a future episode. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.